Someone in my channel's audience left a comment on a recent video that stopped me in my tracks. And I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he said, if you need to keep your income low to qualify for health insurance subsidies, you're not going to be able to do any meaningful Roth conversions until you hit Medicare age. And I thought, okay, that's mostly right, but it's not the whole story. And it's important to know the whole story because this can be one of the most expensive planning mistakes people sleepwalk into during their first decade of retirement. So let's break this down, and I want you to know I went deep on this one because I wanted to make sure I got it right. I am not a financial advisor, but I am someone who believes you should understand the game before you sit down at the table. Here's the conflict. When you retire before 65, before you're eligible for Medicare, most of you are going to get your health insurance coverage through the ACA marketplace. And the ACA offers premium subsidies that can save you thousands of dollars a year on your health insurance. Thousands. But those subsidies are based on your income, specifically your modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A Roth conversion, where you move money from a traditional IRA or 401k into a Roth IRA, counts as taxable income. It increases your MAGI. So the very thing that could save you a fortune in future taxes, the Roth conversion, is the same thing that could cost you your health insurance subsidies right now. That's the tension. And this just got more urgent. From 2021 through 2025, there was no hard cutoff for ACA subsidies. Your subsidies gradually decreased as your income went up. It was a slope, not a cliff. That changed in 2026. The enhanced subsidies expired at the end of 2025, and what's called the subsidy cliff is back. What does that mean in real numbers? For 2026, if you're a single person and your MAGI goes above roughly $62,600, which is 400% of the federal poverty level, you lose all of your subsidies. Not some, all. If you're a couple, that number is about $84,600. $1 over and you could owe back every penny of subsidy you received. For a couple in their early 60s, that could easily be $10,000 to $20,000 or more. So yeah, the cliff is real. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so just skip the Roth conversions, keep your income low, get the subsidies, and deal with the IRA later. And here's where I need you to lean in, because deal with it later has a cost, and it's not small. When you turn 73 or 75, if you were born in 1960 or later, the IRS requires you to start taking money out of your traditional IRA, whether you need it or not. These are called required minimum distributions, or RMDs. And here's the math that keeps even financial planners up at night. Let's say you've got $1.5 million sitting in a traditional IRA. With market growth, by the time you hit required minimum distribution age, that could be $2 million or more. Your first RMD could be $75,000 to $80,000. Stack that on top of Social Security, and you're suddenly in the 22 or 24% tax bracket. Permanently. You've lost all control over your tax rate. The whole point of doing Roth conversions before RMDs start is to shrink that traditional IRA while you're in a lower tax bracket. You pay the taxes now at 10 or 12% instead of being forced to pay at 22 or 24% later. But if you're keeping your income low for ACA subsidies, that window narrows significantly. Here's the nuance that commenter's statement was missing. Saying you can't do any meaningful conversions isn't quite accurate. The window is narrower, but it's not closed. Many financial planners recommend what's called a partial conversion strategy. You figure out exactly how much room you have under the ACA subsidy threshold, and you convert up to that amount and not a penny more. So let's say you're a couple with $30,000 in other income, dividends, maybe some part-time work, Social Security isn't started yet. That 400% FPL threshold for a couple is about $84,600. That means you could potentially convert up to $50,000 or so and still keep your subsidies. Is that as much as you'd convert without the ACA constraint? No. But $50,000 a year in conversions over 5 or 6 years is not nothing. There's $250,000 to $300,000 moved into a Roth, growing tax-free for the rest of your life. The key is precision. You need to know your numbers. You need to be doing this math every December, not guessing, or having a certified financial planner do the numbers for you. Now, here's the good news. When you turn 65 and go on Medicare, the ACA subsidies are no longer part of the equation. That's when many planners recommend ramping up your Roth conversions aggressively, filling up higher tax brackets before RMDs kick in at 73 or 75. You still need to be aware of something called IRMAA, I-R-M-A-A, income-related monthly adjustment amounts, which are surcharges on your Medicare premiums if your income gets too high. But IRMAA is a much more forgiving system than the ACA cliff. Your first IRMAA threshold for a married couple is around $218,000. And even if you trip over it, you're paying an extra $87 or so per month per person. Painful, but not catastrophic, compared to losing $15,000 in ACA subsidies. So the years between 65 and 73 or 65 and 75 for younger retirees, that's your golden window for big conversions. Here's what I want you to take away from this. This is not a choice between ACA subsidies and Roth conversions. It's a sequencing problem. Before 65, do partial conversions that keep you under the subsidy cliff. Every dollar you convert is a dollar that won't become a forced, fully taxable RMD later. After 65, ramp up your conversions. Fill those tax brackets intentionally while you still control the dial. After retired minimum distributions start, you've lost most of your leverage. The IRS is driving now. The people who get this right aren't the ones who chose one over the other. They're the ones who planned the sequence. If you are within 5 years of retirement, this is the conversation to have with a fee-only fiduciary financial planner. Not your brother-in-law, not a guy who sells annuities, a fee-only fiduciary who will sit down and run the actual numbers for your situation. Ask them to model 3 scenarios: no conversions, partial conversions during ACA years, and aggressive conversions after Medicare. Have them show you the lifetime tax difference. I think you'll be surprised by how much is at stake. And this is the kind of planning that belongs in your retirement design, not just the how much do I need part, but the how do I structure my income so I keep more of what I've built part. This is the prosperity pillar, and it's not just about having enough, it's about being strategic with what you have. If this was helpful, hit subscribe. I'm going deep on these kinds of topics because I think you deserve to understand what's actually at play before you make decisions that are really hard to undo. I'll see you in the next one.